This week's video, I've got a collection of dinners I'm looking forward to sharing with you. Some of them are carb-based, some of them are more fat-based, but overall, I hope you get some inspiration for meals you have coming up for your family. Alright, let's start out with the spaghetti and beef sauce. I was pretty excited about this one because of the noodles, but when I started it, I put this meat in completely frozen. I started it kind of late in the day. Didn't take too long to defrost and cook down.
I'm excited to try Dreamfields pasta. Spaghetti, whatever. I've heard of it, haven't used it before, but apparently it's good for if you want to have like normal pasta, it's a good substitute. And then I had some leftover broccoli from something, so I'm gonna take this, cut off the rest of this, and I think roast it. I haven't done that in a very long time, and so I think that would add something nice. Oh my word. We're gonna cut off the bad stuff, but yeah, the rest of this, I hope it's in the not too terrible shape. We shall see.
So yeah, once I had the meat going, then I got the water filling up so I could get that boiling for the pasta. Some people say this kind of pasta gives them stomach troubles, but it didn't bother us at all. I guess there's inulin in it, and that has an effect on how the carbs hit your system. So even though it shows a lot of carbs on the nutritional facts, there's actually not that. It doesn't come out to that many. My husband said that he would definitely have the spaghetti again. He thought it was really good. Much better than a veggie substitute or something like that. Do you guys break your spaghetti up? I like to break it in half, but apparently you're not supposed to do it like that. So I was just kind of spreading the spaghetti out, and then as it cooked, then it would kind of flop into the water. For the broccoli, I just gave it a little drizzle of olive oil, and then I've stuck that in the oven. I also salted it a little bit and then stuck it in the oven to get nice and roasted. My husband said it reminded him of Brussels sprouts, just roasted Brussels sprouts, which I'm guessing they're probably from the same family even. Anybody know? Anyhow, he thought we could do without those next time. I do like to have veggies on the side just to kind of help fill out a meal. Once the beef was cooked, I added some hot water to it because it was pretty fatty, and I find you can either put it in a strainer and pour hot water over it, or I just like to add the hot water to it and then just go ahead and put that through a strainer just to get as much of the fat out as possible. I know people say there's lots of flavor in the fat, but I've also heard there's a lot of the bad stuff in the fat, and so if you drain it out, that's a great way to remove that. Typically I'll dump it into a tin can or some sort of container so that way I'm not draining it down the sink, and it's an easy way to dispose it. I'll throw it in the fridge to harden, and then once I empty the garbage, I'll just put that in the garbage and send it out, and that way you don't have to deal with greasy mess. I just let the garbage guys deal with the greasy mess. I kind of cheated this evening. I grabbed some just tomato sauce. I think it was marinara even. And once I dumped it out, then I added some water to the jar and just shook that up to get the remainder of the sauce out. Typically, if I had more time than I did this time, then I would have added more spices and stuff. But I was just trying to keep it simple. This honey mustard dressing is a favorite recipe of mine. I like it because it's a fuel pulse, so there's hardly any fat or carbs in it, and it's awesome for if you just want something different than ranch. So it's super basic. I can link the recipe. It's just got like Dijon mustard, onion powder, maybe garlic powder, salt, stevia, some apple cider vinegar, turmeric. I don't think the recipe calls for turmeric, but I usually add it just so that you can get a little bit of a more orangish color or yellow color. And then some pepper, and I think I added some glucose as well. The glucomannan is a bit of a thickener. I also added some MCT oil. I think it maybe also called for red wine vinegar. I think it did. I just forgot to show a clip of that. And then once that's all done, then I just mix it up on my little mixer. I think in the recipe they recommend mixing up the gnocchi separately, but it mixes perfectly fine if I just basically put everything in the same little container and then blend it all together. Back to the spaghetti. I cooked up the main pot, and I know some people say you can reserve the spaghetti water, but I didn't really need to mess with my sauce, so I just let the water go back into the system. And then I added a little bit of oil to the spaghetti just so it would help keep it from sticking together. And then it was time to eat. Yeah, this is real life, real things messes on the counter. Just ignore that part. Also, I have no idea why the camera's turning. I think, and when I put on the tripod, there must have been some tension wrong, and so it was slowly moving. I just had to include this little clip of our little guy. He was pretty funny. The end result, everybody loved the meal. I think I actually still have a bit of spaghetti left over, but it was a great meal. Turkey really liked it. My husband liked it. He said it was a great one. So, mission accomplished. I like to try to get in some good carb main dinners. So this one was one of those. It's a recipe from Trim Healthy Cookbook. If you want different ideas for toppings and stuff, I recommend you grab the cookbook. But it's really easy because you can prep the sweet potatoes ahead of time. I did it like in the morning or something. I don't remember when. Way earlier in the day. And then when it was time to eat, they had cooled off sufficiently, and you don't have to peel them. But I kind of like to peel them and then just chop them up into little pieces. However, what bite-sized pieces you'd like, whatever. Or you don't even have to cut them up. And then you just pile on your toppings. For mine, I added a tomato. My husband doesn't always do super well with tomatoes just yet. It bothers his stomach. And here you'll see just a bunch of toppings that we did. Some cooked chicken, tomatoes, lettuce, and then I believe I mixed up a fuel pool dressing. Stuff like that. You could put olives on. You could do mustard. I don't know. There's so many different options of stuff you could do. The goal is just to keep this meal under, for the fat content, to keep it under 1 tablespoon. So that's why I did my own Greek yogurt dressing, and then I added some spices that would turn it kind of into a ranch dressing of sorts, a low-fat ranch dressing. This meal was good. I pulled out beef brisket and I tried to cut off as much fat as I could. And then I salted and peppered it and put it on a hot skillet just to kind of give it a good sear. Of course, I made sure to turn it around, flip it around, and try to get all of the edges for that sear. Then I put it in the oven, covered it with some foil, and Oh, I want to say I did it for about 12 hours or so. Just kind of a slow cook. In the next part, you'll see what I added to the meat to kind of give it a bit, just to enrich it a little bit. So basically some ketchup, some mustard, a little bit of molasses, and then some Worcestershire sauce, and I mixed that all together. This we ate on some sourdough hamburger buns. I think I even had it for a lunch. Oh, I also added stevia as well. But I had it for lunch and we had it for supper, and it was super tasty, especially if you added some pickles to your sandwich. Oh, it's so good. Okay, so this meal that we're gonna do, I just got green pastas, dreamfields elbow, and basically my husband really likes the Kraft mac and cheese. He's always liked that stuff, and now that he's trying to eat a little healthier, we decided to give this a try. So this has, the way it's processed, it can be used in a fat or carb-based meal, and it's a personal choice item, so we're gonna make this. And then I bought off of Amazon, I saw somebody post this, cheddar cheese powder. So I'm kind of excited. He's excited about this too. We'll see how this goes. I know it's not, we don't expect it to taste exactly like mac and cheese. I'm gonna need to remind him that this is just to kind of, when he tastes it, just stay open-minded. But anyways, from what I've been seeing, people really like it. And they say it's a really good substitute for the blue box. It's full of junk. So anyways, let's make this and let's see how it turns out. So you want to know what Curtis thought about it, or should I make you wait to the end? This one we had, I think it was Saturday for lunch. It could also be a dinner. You could serve it with sides of some veggies and I don't know what not, other stuff. But it was fairly simple. I will include the recipe in the description. I found it online. I had to alter the recipe, or I should say in the future I will alter the recipe a bit. I'll leave the updated version in the description. So for the cheese mixture, I had to look it up to make sure I had it right. So you use melted butter and then some of this cheese powder that I don't even know how it's like okay to eat because it seems so fake to me. But anyways, you add some heavy cream to that and mix it up. Now I added some almond milk, and the almond milk is cold, and so it kind of made it look a little funny. You'll see that pretty soon here. But yeah, I mixed it up. Added the almond milk. And next time I make it, I'm going to do half the amount of almond milk. It was way too liquidy. So I had to add extra cheddar cheese powder to combat that, but you'll see that when that comes out. Then I dumped the cold mixture in. You can see the butter kind of clumped up. As it was mixed in with the noodles though, it melted again and doesn't look quite so weird. So you want to know what my husband thought? He thought it tasted amazing. You know, the goal is to make it like the blue box mac and cheese, and I would say mission accomplished. So much so, like I can't stand that stuff, and Curtis, my husband, thought it was amazing. So the fact that he liked this, that was a pretty good sign. So we will definitely be doing this again. I'll have to give him the rundown so he can make it when he wants to. But yeah, it's a great comfort food. We had veggies alongside of it, at least I did. Some celery and carrot sticks with some ranch dressing, so yeah. This is one of those recipes that I thought would be fun to do. This was the first time I made it. I will say, gotta give credit where credit is due. I got this recipe from my friend. I gotta say, it's one of those recipes, whenever we have it at their house, I'm always like, why don't I make this myself? And my husband had talked about how much he had enjoyed them. So I thought, let's make it as one of the recipes for this video. She sent me her recipe. It was for hamburger buns, and then she just told me how she adapted it. Basically used almond milk instead of whole milk, and then I used, I believe it was erythritol instead of the sugar. But anyways, it's pretty straightforward. Just you go ahead and mix it up in your mixer, and then there's a certain amount of time to let it sit. But it was fairly easy, as long as you start it ahead of time. I heated up my almond milk and water a mixture a little too hot, so at first I added some of it, but then I pulled it back and held it and let it cool down. I actually threw the butter in just to help the butter soften. This is one of those types of foods that would be really good for a snack for a party or something. If you want to have some protein available, I think it would be a great idea for that. I had fed my starter at least a couple times, so it was very much ready to go, ready to do some work. I used white whole wheat flour, and then that one container, I used it up. So then I pulled up my einkorn. Well, I only had about half a cup of einkorn. I need to order more. Anyways, if you guys know of a good place to order einkorn, some good pricing, let me know. I know I've gotten recommendations before, so I need to look that up or get in touch with that friend specifically again. Anyways, and then I put in about half a cup of white flour, and shortly after that discovered I had more whole wheat flour in another container. So some of this whole wheat flour, it just basically needed to be used. I've had it for at least a year, if not a little bit more. So I was aware that, flour definitely has a shelf life. So anyways, it was perfect for this recipe. I have some whole wheat flour that I need to grind up. My sister-in-law gave me the whole wheat grinder attachment for a KitchenAid, which I have yet to pull out. So one of these days I'm going to pull it out and see how it works to grind up grain, see what we think of it. Maybe eventually one day I'll get a larger grain grinder, but for now I was able to use some grain that we had bought from some friends. Some already ground grain. So basically flour. These days the house tends to be on the colder side just with the cold weather, so I put the bowl of dough over by one of the heaters in the house and it didn't rise a ton, but that was okay because I didn't need it to really rise much for these. But that was okay because I didn't really need it to rise much as it was. I just took some Kirkland hot dogs that were defrosted and cut those in half, and then I just roll that up inside the dough. I did let the dough sit for a little bit, partly because I had to defrost hot dog rolls. I didn't realize I would need so many hot dogs. Anyways, it worked out great. I think I ended up taking this to our couple's Bible study, and it was awesome. Don't they look so delicious? So yummy. At the very end, I turned the broiler on just for a little bit, and then I watched them, kept an eye on them just so they wouldn't burn. We had some spinach with them. For my salad dressing, I used a little bit of olive oil and some nutritional yeast, which is known as Nutri-Greens if you follow THM. It is a weird combination, but it tastes so good. I don't know what it is. You guys will have to let me know if you try it. It's so good. And then for my husband, I just gave him some of the honey mustard ranch dressing that I made earlier in the video. It was pretty cute to watch the little guy devouring those hot dog dough things, whatever they're called. I'm forgetting what they're called at the moment. But he loved them for the meat, actually, surprisingly. Usually he goes for the carby stuff. Lots of carbs. But he was devouring them for the hot dog inside, so they were absolutely tasty. I hope these dinners gave you maybe some ideas of some meals you could do for your family, and I hope you have as much fun as I did making them. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing our week of dinners. I didn't show my face a lot because oftentimes at dinner time, case in point, they're hungry, and it's not always the best time to video. So anyways, thank you for joining me this week. I'll see you guys next week.